Spoiler warning. The following discussion will contain spoilers. We recommend checking out the movie first, then coming back to hang with us. But if you don't care about that, glad to have you here.
All right, everybody, welcome to the premiere episode of The Real Rule of Three. Between normal television and the vast amounts of streaming services, it can kind of be tough to determine what shows deserve your attention. Have no fear, though. John and myself, we are here to take a look at the first 3 episodes of a show and based on that, determine if it is indeed worth your time. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at WandaVision. WandaVision blends the styles of classic sitcoms with the Marvel Cinematic Universe in which Wanda Maximoff and Vision, 2 superpowered beings living their ideal suburban lives, begin to suspect that everything is not as it seems. I was pretty hyped when we got the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe coming to Disney Plus streaming service. I'm pretty excited for this show. How do you feel about it initially? What were some of your early thoughts?
Well, going into this show, I didn't really know much about the characters per se either.
Right.
So going into it, I was wondering more, did I have to watch every single other Marvel movie to understand this show completely? Or would I be okay not?
Right. And I feel like that's one of the biggest issues I think people have, right? And I hope that's something when we talk about these episodes we'll be able to find out is accessibility. The Marvel Universe has become so enlarged over the years, which is a good thing and a bad thing. For people that have stuck through it, who've watched it from the beginning, like us, we've been watching it, it's nice to be rewarded when you can see something like, oh, I remember when that happened, or, oh, that finally connects to this plot point. But something as unique as WandaVision kind of took me by surprise. I thought we were going to get some of the classic flair, just what the Marvel Universe has been putting out. These light action movies that there's not much to them. They're fun. They're not much of substance, you could argue, right? They're kind of just those popcorn films. You have a good time and you like the characters. The stories are compelling and interesting. They are what they are. WandaVision right away is weird. And I know that's not the most technical term to use, but when you see the trailers for this, it was sitcoms. There's some kind of sitcom happening. They're stuck in this world. And to pick these 2 characters too, I feel like is very interesting, where Wanda and Vision aren't the most popular Marvel characters. So to me, what I'm expecting going into this is maybe liking those characters more, because I felt like their offerings from the Marvel Universe were pretty light and lackluster. While they had some moments here and there, especially during the Endgame films and such of that nature, we didn't get really much from them. So it was interesting to see I'm interested to see where they're going to pick off, especially for those at home who have seen it. Endgame kind of left off with Vision being killed and Wanda grieving, his loss. So I'm interested to see where they're going to take that now that Vision's apparently back. I don't know what they're going to do. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens. I think we're ready to start this off. So we're going to take a look at episode 1, filmed before a live studio audience. So, John, the visualness of this show just struck me right away as soon as episode 1 started. I'm like, we're in for something really different. I could just tell right off the bat.
Just the opening couple of minutes where they're moving to this new town and they're coming in and everything very different. WandaVision! You can tell she has powers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very different. But you also notice, even the first character that we meet besides Wanda and Vision is their next door neighbor.
Yeah, we meet Agnes. Yeah, this is the first appearance of Agnes in the show.
And she's like, you're the lady to the right. Or I'm on your right. Or my right or not your right.
Hello, dear. I'm Agnes, your neighbor to the right. My right, not yours. Forgive me for not stopping by sooner to welcome you to the block. My mother-in-law was in town, so I wasn't.
And she seems a little off, which kind of draws you into the whole thing.
The thing that struck me about this episode, the plot is ho-hum at best. It's a typical 60s TV show plot. And specifically the Dick Van Dyke Show, very similar to early episodes of the Dick Van Dyke Show. Coincidentally enough, from what I could tell when I was doing a little bit of research on the background here, Dick Van Dyke was actually a consultant on this episode to make sure everything was period accurately filmed. Right away, that gives me a little bit of excitement for this show. They're trying something really out of the box here. And the level of detail they try to garner down to making this like a 60s sitcom, I absolutely love. Is this going to be for everybody right away? I question that. Definitely. Like I said, the plot was kind of ho-hum. It's more about Vision and Wanda, they realize they have this special day.
Well, then tell me what's so important about today's date.
What was the question again? Oh, well, perhaps you've forgotten yourself.
Me? Heavens no. I've been so looking forward to it.
As have I.
Right, there's some special day. They can't remember what day it was. They have no idea. And Vision goes to the office and he finds out he's having his boss over for dinner.
Listen, about tonight.
Don't worry, dear. I have everything under control.
Oh, well, that is a relief. I must confess I'm really rather nervous.
Nervous? Whatever for?
Wanda thinks it's an anniversary. Shenanigans ensue. They have a lobster that gets like thrown out the window.
Oh no!
How can I be of assistance?
Well, the chicken is no longer a chicken, and the lobsters just flew the coop, so the steak is the last man standing.
There's a funny scene where Vision's trying to pound the meat in the back. And he's like slamming down the meat, and she's like trying to distract everyone.
Were either of you aware that married men are killing single men at an alarming rate?
What are you going on about? And what's going on in there?
It's a sitcom, right? It really is. It truly is a 60s sitcom. There was one point, though, where the intrigue slept in. Because up to that point, I'm like, what is this? I almost couldn't get into it because I'm like, what are you trying to do here? Right? I mean, I'm intrigued. You're doing something different. But what is it that's going to grab me? What's going to take me by the you-know-what and get me pulled into this episode? And then it happened. There's a scene, a very disturbing scene. They're sitting down for dinner, and the boss's wife keeps going. She's actually Kitty from That 70s Show, for people who like that show. I love that show. She goes and she goes, stop it. And Arthur, the boss, starts choking. He starts choking, and she keeps going, stop it.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Stop it. And she's like slamming. And suddenly out of nowhere, everything changes. And it's very unsettling. The camera turns to like a more modern camera setting. They focus in on Wanda. And you hear, stop it. Stop it. And it's going over and over. And then she looks at Vision, Wanda, and she goes, save him.
Stop it. Stop it.
Vision, help him.
He goes, he saves the boss, and everything just reverts back to normal. At that point, the show said, Kevin, pay attention. Something's happening in this show that's not right. And I don't know what it is, but I felt myself really drawn when that popped up. And once that popped up, I felt myself looking for things in this episode, trying to find underlying meanings, hidden meanings. And I feel like there's a lot of that in this episode. There's a lot of double meanings.
The all-new Toastmate 2000 by Stark Industries. Forget the past. This is your future.
I don't know if I know what they mean yet. Maybe I'll find out more when we get to the second episode. But there's a lot of stuff hidden, I think. And maybe even on a rewatch, I think there's a lot of things to be found in this episode still.
Just going to that point, the part you just said too.
Mm-hmm.
Wanda had to tell Vision to go save him. Vision wasn't going to do anything on his
so that tells
himself.
that tells you something, right? Almost like Vision's not in control of himself, and no one around them's in control of himself, I feel like. Mystery started to sink in a little. I'm like, there's something to this show. And it closes out even more interestingly with someone's watching the show. Someone is literally watching the show, and we zoom out. They have the end credits start playing in the show. You're like, oh, that's kind of cute. And then it zooms out, and you're like, somebody's watching this show. So I think the intrigue's starting to set in. There are some negatives, though, I think, with the show right away. I don't know if you agree, John. I think it is a little slow at times. It's not a long episode by any means. Is it a half hour, if that? Which is a typical sitcom time length, right? I guess that's around about 20 minutes as a sitcom. It does feel a little slow at times. I do feel like it's very inaccessible to new fans. Now, me and you were okay with it. We know who Wanda and Vision are. But if you don't know who those characters are, you're probably like, what the hell is this show I'm watching? I could easily see that being very cumbersome for the uninitiated to try and get into, which unfortunately episode 1 doesn't solve that issue for new fans, I don't think.
With some of the jokes that they have too, like when you talk about in the beginning too.
Right.
And she's putting the plates away and it smacks him in the head. Mm-hmm. And she goes, well, you're indestructible head.
My wife and her flying saucers.
My husband and his indestructible head.
Right.
Like you understand that like from seeing all the films and everything.
Well, you saw that too, where that's how he died. Thanos ripped out the stone out of his head. That's how he died. Again, these are what I was talking about, like hidden meanings and stuff like that. Very interesting things going on here. I don't know. That might be part of it too, where I don't know if you'll be able to catch it the first time. I sure as hell couldn't. It actually took a couple rewatches for me to actually find all these like weird hidden meanings and maybe double entendres and stuff like that. But interesting nonetheless. I won't say it's hooked me yet. I don't know about you. It hasn't hooked me yet, but it's got my intrigue level way up. Episode 2, Don't Touch That Dial. This one was interesting. We jumped a time period. We got a very Bewitched-inspired opening. I thought that was really fun. That was a really interesting nod to like the whole Bewitched series. WandaVision. And I think you could argue Bewitched is like a good setting for this character, Scarlet Witch and Vision, especially because they do have powers and there's a little bit of magic going on and stuff like that. I think that was a really good show to have the sitcom theme carry through with.
The weird thing for me with all these sitcom-y, like, I'm not necessarily, like, so familiar on them.
Okay.
So, like, when they're coming up, I'm kind of like, I understand it, but I don't.
Right, and I feel like that's part of its charm. If you do understand it, I think there's something really fun there to be had. Fortunately and unfortunately, I grew up with like a lot of those like repeats on TV when I would be with my grandparents. I'm used to seeing these kind of shows, so it's not something I'm super unfamiliar with. I'm not like crazy like drenched in the culture or anything like that of those time periods, but I know of the shows. I've seen enough to understand what they're trying to go with, I think, and that's capturing me right away. Again, it's continuing that theme though of, are we spinning our wheels a little bit? Like, what's going on? Why are we jumping with these like time periods? Why do we have a time period jump out of nowhere? We're not really getting many answers, and this episode tends to bring up more questions than answers again at this point, so I'm not too sure the direction they're trying to go in. If you're not into slow burns, this isn't for you. You're not going to enjoy this show. Because a lot of people, I think we have a society where everything's instant gratification. Like, we need to know right away. I need to know the answer. I can't wait. This show's not doing that. It's going to make you wait. It's going to hold its cards close to the chest, and it's going to tell you when the time is for you to know things. Again, I could see that a lot of those negatives we've had, this accessibility, being slow, I'm still seeing a lot of that carry over into this episode.
This episode, too, they're trying to put on this talent show.
Right.
Throughout the whole time the talent show, the lady keeps saying, for the children.
For the children.
For the children.
We don't see children. We see children brought up a lot in this episode.
All of this is for the children.
For the children. For the children.
And even the ending, we have a surprise pregnancy, so that's something right there.
Devil's in the details, Bev.
That's not the only place he is.
As you all know.
I do like one thing the show is starting. So the first episode was kind of like the introduction to the world, everything that's going on. And the world keeps changing and almost getting more suited to Wanda. I feel like as we go forward, she's trying to, or the world seems like it's trying to be shaped around her, which I think is very interesting.
Or maybe I could just be myself, more or less.
Oh, Wanda. That's good.
We also start to see like threats. Like this episode's really about threatening danger. Right away in the beginning of the episode, Wanda and Vision are sleeping in separate beds, which is hilarious. That's a great callback to sitcoms. They're sleeping in separate beds, and there's like a tap at the window, and they're like, "What's that noise?" "Oh, I don't know. We gotta go check it out." And
I assure you, my love, I see nothing amiss. You have absolutely no reason to be. No!
You were saying?
But that kind of carries out throughout this whole episode. We see a lot of that where like Vision joins a neighborhood watch to try and like find out what the threat is that's going on in the town. And he calls him a commie.
I too have some top secret gossip to share. Norm here's a communist.
Well, that's weird. The Red Menace. Red seems to be an important color in this show too. But we also see Wanda like protecting everything around her. A lot of this episode has a lot to do with Wanda protecting her life.
No.
trying to keep together what she's created. For example, like with her and Vision during the magic show, Vision chews gum. And he goes crazy, he gets drunk.
Now my wife and I will delight in your dumbstruck little faces.
He gets drunk from chewing gum. It gets stuck in his gears and his robotic body, and she has to like cover for him with all these magic tricks. I think that was pretty fun. Again, is it compelling stuff? On the first layer, I'd say no. I don't know if this is for everybody, but those deeper meanings I feel like just keep sinking into the show. So there's something not quite right about this perfect little world.
Well, especially when she mentions it a lot where she'll say, have to make sure that we fit in.
It's our chance to appear as normal as possible while doing so.
Well, I don't think that should be a problem.
This is our home now. I want us to fit in.
Right.
And when she keeps saying that, it makes you think, you understand, like, with superheroes, they try to fit in with society. Okay, you can understand that.
Right.
But they're trying way too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems very, like, fishy, I guess.
You know what? It's like she wants to fit in this world. She wants them to fit in this world. And that seems to be her main agenda and goal, is for everyone to fit in together. And you can understand that, you know, she wants to have a place of normalcy with her husband, but they're not necessarily normal. So I wonder how those two characteristics play out throughout the rest of the series. I'm very intrigued to see where that goes. Another character we also see, Agnes, kind of steps up her game a little bit, and I'm really I like her character more so than some of the others, because I have no idea what's going on with her. She seems to appear and interrupt people when something is going off the path.
Look, it's the star of the show.
Agnes!
A little bit, right? Like when Wanda needs something or needs some kind of reassurance, I feel like Agnes appears and like reassures her or gently nudges her in the right direction. They also had a weird scene with the mailman where she does like finger guns to the mailman. Like, oh, I got you. He's like, oh, yeah, I got you.
Morning, Agnes.
Stick him up.
Oh, don't shoot, I'm just a messenger.
Pew, pew.
Going back to, like, the classic sitcom, Agnes seems like the character that's always around, the annoying next-door neighbor or someone, but, like, she seems to try to be helping out,
right,
in a way, but it's also a very, like, fishy kind of thing.
How is anybody doing this sober?
No, it's fishy for sure. And I think this is the episode where we get the most interruptions from something else that's coming for them. And again, I spoke about like the incoming danger in this show, and they play about that a lot. We have the first scene where we hear the noise of a giant helicopter. She goes outside and there's like this little mini red helicopter out there, which has the sword logo. Which, for those at home who don't know, at the end of the most recent Spider-Man movie, they introduced SWORD, which is like this intergalactic protection agency. So again, we're treading on something else again, where it's like, if you don't know what SWORD is, you're like, what the hell is that? You know, I don't know what that is. This doesn't mean anything for someone who doesn't know about the Marvel Universe.
Well, honestly, too, I didn't even understand it at first, and I had to go like,
yeah, you have to research it.
I
do
and
my
I was
homework.
I was like, wait, really? Like, I knew there was a purpose to that. Like, it wasn't just like oh, let me just throw this in for shits and giggles, you know?
Yeah, and I think the show, you know, as much as I want it to be accessible for newcomers, the more we've progressed, I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, but the more we've progressed, I'm already seeing, like, this is alienating other viewers who aren't familiar with the Marvel Universe. I think you're already alienated. As much as you would want to try and watch this might be a hard pass for those who don't like Marvel or haven't seen a lot of Marvel films.
Yeah, I can see a lot of people that, like,
it's a turnoff for them.
Would be checking out right now, you know?
Yeah, I could see it. There's a scene where it's Wanda and Dottie. They're having a conversation by the pool about children and everything like that. And suddenly on the radio, we hear the song "Help Me, Rhonda," and going, "Help me, Rhonda, help me."
Who is that?
But it sounds almost like "Help me, Wanda." Almost like "Help me, Wanda."
The whole time when they were playing that song,
yeah,
all that was going through my head was "Help me, Wanda."
Right.
All I kept hearing was "Help me, Wanda."
And I wonder if that's a wordplay for the audience there to like be like, whoa, what? This is weird. And it was really unsettling.
And to me, I thought like, all right, hold on. Who could hear this though?
Yeah,
can they hear it or can they not?
And even more interesting, we're followed up with the voice of, I think it's Jimmy Woo, who was in the Ant-Man and Wasp film.
Wanda. Who's doing this to you, Wanda?
Hearing his voice, I'm like, all right, the Marvel Universe is creep. Something's not right. And then again, we're introduced to that red motif color. Dottie cuts her hand and she starts bleeding red.
What?
Dottie!
It's almost as if like some kind of illusion or something's shattered in this universe. And whenever that happens, when illusion's broken, that color comes into it. And I think that's incredibly interesting to me. I really like that. And like we said, we have the shenanigans of the magic show and whatnot. That's fine. You know, it was cute. It was a good time. Some unsettling notions there that I wonder if that's going to play out later. Again, the whole kids motif comes up. And then sure enough, it comes up later. Like I said, at the end of the episode, Wanda's suddenly pregnant out of nowhere. She's talking to Vision. She gets up. She's pregnant.
Wanda.
What?
What?
9 months pregnant.
There's a couple of questions you could have there. Vision's a robot, so that's my first question. So whatever. But then I think even stranger, this episode ends in color, which ironically would be like the time that color televisions kind of came into being after like that Bewitched era of television. I love that scene. I think it's absolutely beautiful how they seep in all the color into the universe right at the end of the episode. And it's getting there for me. The show's getting there for me. I'm getting more intrigued. Would I say I'm sold yet? Not really. I still think it's a lot of a slow burn going on.
It's something interesting too that like at first I was kind of mad that it started off in black and white.
Right.
But as soon as they brought it to full color, I missed that black and white.
Yeah, you missed
that
aesthetic.
I felt like it should have went longer with black and white.
Right. I get why they're changing. Weird. I'm curious. Again, the show has me curious, I would say. That's the best word for it. I'm definitely curious.
Just even with the first 2 episodes.
Right.
Is the rewatchability
It's
good.
There. Right. There's a rewatchability for sure.
There's always something that you missed. There's always something that you can catch on to more.
Mm-hmm.
And each time it's like something that's maybe more important like at the end.
Yeah.
But you just want to know about it.
Episode 3. Now in color. We made it to the 70s. We had inspired Partridge Family opening with a little bit of Brady Bunch and some Three's Company tossed in there. So that I always appreciate a nice little 70s throwback. It took to the 3rd episode for me, but I will say without a doubt, the 3rd episode finally hooked me in. Its claws sunk into me for this show.
It's almost like it definitely hooked me in.
Yeah.
It's still to me very strange.
It has its issues, but let's go into some of our thoughts about it, and we'll get into that. We see the continuation of Wanda wanting to hide who they are and preserve their illusion at any cost. So I feel like the world around her is starting to break down a little bit. We're seeing like those cracks are becoming more numerous as the show goes on, and we're also seeing Vision kind of snap at us. We have a really good scene with her and Vision where Vision goes and he says, Wanda, what's going on? He has like, he tries to talk to her and she looks at him and there's this weird like jump cut edit.
I think something's wrong here, Wanda. Yes, I know what you mean.
In the middle of the episode. At first I thought it was like the TV, but actually it was actually the episode. She jump cut back and changed the scene. Reality changed because she didn't want to talk about it. She wanted to keep this illusion going. So I'm like, all right, I think we can confirm at this point Wanda's controlling everything. I feel like we can absolutely say that for certain at this point.
Sometimes when we see things, like we're seeing things almost through like Vision is seeing it.
Right.
But Wanda and the other characters are seeing things differently.
Right.
Like sometimes she'll use her powers like around people. And she'll be like, oh, well, they didn't see anything or anything like that.
Right.
But you're kind of like, is it because they didn't see it? Or is it because they already know like what's going on? So she's kind of controlling them.
That brings me to something too. And it's been an issue in comic books with Scarlet Witch for years. It's always been a problem, is what's her level of power? Her powers are not really defined. I feel like even in the Marvel universe, as from comics, again, to the live action movies, we've never really defined what her powers are. And we're starting to see she has, I want to argue, and I don't know if this is where it's coming from, almost godlike powers in this universe, to where she can bring things to life. She brings the mobile of butterflies to life.
Oh, it's such a strange sensation. It's kind of fluttery. Oh, did I do that? I didn't mean to.
Oh, look, darling.
Oh.
Hello, little fella.
The stork comes to life off the...
So I'm trying every trick in the book to help this poor man. I'm hiding behind...
Like, she's literally has godlike creating things into existence powers. So it's interesting to see that level of power. Like, what did she do to Vision? You know, as being Marvel fans, you had to have some level. Again, it's an issue, definitely. But at this point, I think we can confirm, like, this isn't for people that don't like Marvel, who aren't influenced in the Marvel universe. At this point, we know Vision is dead. What did she do to get him back? The pregnancy, I think they handle pretty fun in this episode. She randomly becomes pregnant, like we said at the end of the last episode, and now it's like an accelerated pregnancy. They keep making these jokes about it.
You've gotten bigger.
Have I? I can't tell from this angle.
I can't wait to be a proud papaya.
And one thing they do, which is really funny, is when they have guests that come around, like Monica comes to visit, who's in the last episode. She tries to hide the pregnancy, kind of like a classic sitcom would. She got like the clothes like pulled out more. She likes to hold something in front of her.
Bingo! Would you look at that?
What?
Fruit! Wanda! Thank you. Yummy.
I feel like that was like a nice like nod to sitcoms when they tried to hide like a pregnant actress on the show and keep that hidden. I'm like, that's pretty clever. But Monica, she's a surprising character. She's there. She delivers the babies, right? We get twins.
Good heavens! There's another baby coming!
Billy!
Wanda, push! Push!
We get twins for Wanda and Vision there. Our comic book fans out there, you know what this is maybe leading to. They do have 2 children in the comics. I try not to bring up comics too much when we talk about Marvel, even when me and John talk about it, because it's not that it's spoilery, but they do things different, right? The comic and the show aren't the same thing, or the movie, whatever you're comparing it to. It's nice to have an idea of maybe what's to come, but the Marvel movies have proven that they're able to change enough things and carry on with their own universe. So it's just to think where they go and then maybe reference it back later. But they do end up having 2 kids, Tommy and Billy, the 2 babies. At the end, we get a very interesting dark scene. And again, I think this is really when it hooked me. I would say definitively, this is the part when the show hooked me, is when Monica and Wanda are talking about Pietro.
I'm a twin. I had a brother. His name was Pietro.
She brings up Pietro, who's her brother Quicksilver, who died, and she starts singing the Sokovia Salt like lullaby, which, fun fact, she randomly got her accent back out of nowhere. I thought that was kind of funny. She had an accent in the one Avengers film, then she never had it again. She kind of gets it whenever she feels like acting with it, I suppose.
She slowly gets rid of it.
Yeah, I guess so. She gets it back and she's like, Pietro, and she starts talking about him, and then she's like, oh yeah, that's who. And then Monica goes, oh yeah, that's who Ultron killed.
He was killed by Ultron, wasn't he?
What did you say?
And then suddenly, like, everything gets really uncomfortable. And everything stops. Wanda looks at her. She notices the sword logo on her pendant that she has. And she just goes, you just see the show just cuts. And then Vision comes in and you see Wanda. There's no Monica. What the hell happened to Monica? She's not there. You see Wanda just like sitting there with the babies. Almost, the show has like a dark tone to her now.
Oh, she left, honey. She had to rush home.
You know, going forward, she's always been like lighthearted, and you know, there was maybe like a sense of unease. I feel like they're transitioning her into a villain almost, because she's very just like, I took care of the problem and that's it. And I like where this show's going with that a lot. I think naturally we all have that kind of feeling where we love to see a hero fall. We love to see our heroes become the villain, as the Green Goblin once said. It's one of our favorite story devices that we have. And I think this show's moving in a place. And I would say without a shadow of a doubt, this show hooked me at that point.
Well, even too, like, just that point where she's talking to her. And then all of a sudden you see Vision outside speaking to Agnes and Herb. And all of a sudden they start to become a little bit weird then too.
Right.
You start noticing even more like...
Well, that's what's interesting too. It's like they broke the simulation, I would call it. Herb is supposed to be cutting his trees down, but he's cutting the wall.
Hey, Herb! Think you might have taken the hedge trimming a little too far there, old chum.
So I have. Thanks, buddy.
With a chainsaw?
Yeah.
And Agnes seemed to have like panicked when she realized like Vision was starting to get information. Agnes was like, oh no, don't talk, shut up. Her Herb was about to say something. No, she goes, stop it.
Came here because we're all...
Stop it.
Which I wonder if that's a callback to the first episode where it's like, stop it.
Stop it.
And it was like that. And he stopped. He didn't reveal any more information. But I like Vision's becoming aware. You know, we've had multiple scenes now where Vision, it's like she can't keep his consciousness down, or whatever this is, can't keep his consciousness down. The ending of this show exemplifies what the real rule of three, I think, is used for. At the end of the episode, we see Monica get thrown out of this like television static bubble. She's thrown out of it onto the ground, and we see it the camera pans out, and we see this whole town like engrossed in this bubble with military presence. Everything's around it. It really got me. Like, I cannot wait to see what happens next. For those who may have checked out sooner, I feel bad, because I think this is why the real rule of three works. You have 3 episodes to get your story across of what you're trying to tell, and I think they did it successfully, in my opinion. Those 3 episodes, it was a little slow, there's no argument there, but this episode had that stinger that made me want to go, all right, what's going to happen next? Now we're into something here.
And I feel like that's why you sometimes have to give things a chance just to see where they're going.
Right.
Basing things off the first show or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just not giving it a fair chance.
But I think it's that time where we're going to bring you our verdicts.
Hey everybody, Kevin here. Sorry for the interruption, but before the guys give you their verdict on this episode of The Real Rule of 3, let me go over the 4 potential scores. Binge it. A must-watch show that is extremely enjoyable and shouldn't be missed. Give it a chance. A show that has potential and is enjoyable, but should be watched at your own pace. Would recommend getting around to it. Put it in the queue. Intrigue is there, but not desperate to continue to find out what happens next. Recommend saving it for later and maybe not returning to it. Skip it. Well, don't watch it. Not worth your time. Now that all that's been explained, let's get back to the episode.
Should you watch WandaVision? I'd recommend binge it.
Any other tricks?
You could point out that the death rate of single men is twice that of married men.
Now that's romantic.
The term binge it it's a tough term, right? Because at this point in the time, the show's not done. So this would be more of just watch it as it comes out, right? You got to watch this. This is not a show. If you're a Marvel fan, you should not be missing this show. There's no reason for you to miss this show. I'll give it the caveat if you're not a Marvel fan or you have no interest in the Marvel universe of finding out things or do a little bit of homework, I'd have to argue. This show's going to turn you off, I think. I don't know if it'll be for you. Even with the 3rd episode stinger there at the end with, oh my God, the cliffhanger of what's happening. There might be some interest to you. Maybe someone could find something. It's just going to be hard. So keep that in mind. I don't want that to deter you. Just keep that in mind as you watch it. This show is made for that Marvel fan. My recommendation for the show is I think this is a good opportunity for the show to kick up the pace and really get the people pulled in even more. This is a nitpick, which I haven't really talked about. The credits are too long. They're like 7 minutes long worth of credits in each episode. From the opening to the closing, the ending credits are ridiculously long. We got to trim that out. Give us more content. I don't know what you're doing with that. John, what do you think?
I give WandaVision a binge it.
I-E-I-O. And on their farm he had a pig.
I feel like it just is definitely one of those shows that Marvel fans definitely have to check out. And I feel like if you were just an average Marvel fan, I feel like you'd still get a lot out of the show.
Right.
When it's all said and done, if it keeps going the way I feel like it's going.
Right. It's built up the anticipation for us, for sure. Yeah.
I feel just the way it's been going that like it's going to have a good payoff at the end.
Yeah, because the idea of the real rule of 3, like we said, we sample these first 3 episodes. We're going to give you where we think it's going to go in the future. Will it continue with this momentum? I don't know. You know, it might not. It could flop in the very next episode for all I know. But we're going on based on these 3 episodes. I think 3 episodes is a good sample size for you, and it gives the time for the show to tell you what it's about, give you something to look forward to. Those 3 episodes, in my opinion at least, and John I know agrees with me, these 3 episodes are the sample size for any television show if it's worth your time. You got 3 chances to capture my attention and tell me if it's worth my time. And you know, both our regards, it sounds like. It's a binge it for us. I'm excited for this, for 100%. I really cannot wait to see where this goes, and I'm glad this is a weird experiment in a way. I'm glad to see Marvel taking a chance, and I hope it pays off. I can't wait to see what happens. Now, John, where can the people find us at home?
You can find us over on YouTube, The Real Movie Guys on YouTube. Go over there, like our channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get notified when we put up our other videos and stuff. You can also find us and interact with us on Twitter too. Let us know your opinion about this show or other shows that maybe you've watched that you're getting into.
Yeah, let us know. If you have recommendations for the Real Rule 3, let us know what shows you'd want to see us just sample, see if it interests you. Also, I'm also interested to see did you like our review of WandaVision? Do you want us to continue it? Once it's done, should we just do a big review, wrap up the series for you, see what our thoughts are, see if the Real Rule of 3 actually worked? Let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think.
You can find us on Instagram too. You can also listen to us on many podcasting platforms such as...
Yes, for your listening pleasure. We are also available in podcast form at iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, Overcast, Breaker, Radio Public, and Pocket Casts. Be sure to give us a listen at any of those fine places. If you already are right now, hey, greatly appreciate it. Just search Real Movie Guys. We should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us for this episode, and the premiere episode, actually, of The Real Rule of 3. My name's Kevin. That guy over there, he's John. We are your Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. We'll catch you next time.
WandaVision.